Next is our public comment portion of our meeting, and we're going to do the in-person first. There, you have 2 minutes, and if you see a little sign flashing over here, it'll kind of give you a little warning or a reminder to kind of wrap up. We'll do it at 1 minute and then 30 seconds. I want to thank those that have participated in the past. That the last few meetings, people have been really good to keep to the time and respect other people's time. So thank you for that. We'll do in person first, and then we'll go to Zoom. So first, we'll have Christina, and I apologize early if I mess these names up, but I think I can get them pretty close. But correct me if you would Christina Bogus with Nathan Bigler on deck. Christina. Let's make sure is the light on? Okay, can someone? Okay, I think the light's on, yeah.
All right, well, good morning. I want to be very clear that I'm here as an independent speaker and a taxpayer. And I want to address two issues and articulate that they are of paramount importance. One is the $40 million contract with Cambian, rather riddled with conflict of interest and bad faith, and the poor excuse for an academic skill assessment that is labeled in Utah as RISE. When reading about the bloated contract with Cambium, I thought to myself, they printed it wrong or someone must be mispronouncing or misspelling that word. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions. Did you know that the Cambium Umbrella Corporation owns multiple curricular and software solutions installed and in force in many districts in our state and many other states? Will you consider it an anomaly when districts who employ and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to use their curriculum and software solutions, will you consider it an anomaly when their students do better on RISE? Or will you consider it odd when students perform poorly and Cambium facilitates a curricular solution? Will you wonder if the test was skewed to promote curricular resources this behemoth already has for sale? The stakeholders in the state of Utah should have an unbiased, non-conflicted, non-financially motivated third party engaged in assessing the skills of our students. And when I say that, I mean skills. Academic skills should be assessed. The contract entered into last month should be voided for 2 reasons. One, it has an extreme conflict of interest, and the assessment protocols in place in that assessment are in conflict with Utah law. Our code
30 seconds.
expresses clearly that one cannot assess values or attitudes, yet many of the aspects of this assessment do just that. In the course of 1 day, I found over 30 items without a legitimate, objectively correct answer. Each response was written to assess reasoning or thinking. In short, if a student engages in, quote, correct think, end quote, they will pass or score well.
Christina,
But if they think critically,
your time is up. Can you
they will fail.
wrap it. Thank you.
The latter, assessing those things, is also in violation of Utah code. This test is anything but standardized, and I would request that the board add suspension of its administration to the January agenda and act with integrity to honor Utah law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Nathan Bigler with Deborah Oaks Co. on deck. Nathan.
Morning. I'm Nate Bigler. My pronouns are he, him. I'm currently the parent of 2 students in Granite School District. I've had a total of 10 students in Utah schools. I'm an Army combat veteran and former foster parent. I've earned 2 Bronze Star medals and a combat action badge during 2 years at war because I cared about my battle buddies and did my best to support them and protect them. I was a foster parent for the same reason. I had the opportunity to show support and care for some children who needed a little extra for a while. In the past couple of years, I've been pleased by how 3 of my transgender kids were accepted and treated by faculty at 3 different Granite schools. I've worked with and cared for gay and transgender people in my life in these different roles. I have a transgender child in junior high right now. If there's any debate or question about inclusion of gay and transgender youth in Utah schools, we should be discussing how to make their experience more equitable, more inclusive, until it's clear that they're getting the best education that we can provide as a community, and that they feel completely comfortable, because we as parents and educators owe children a welcoming environment. When I was a student 25 years ago, I was unfamiliar with the terms transgender and cisgender. I wish I'd learned these terms as a young student. Awareness fosters empathy and understanding. I would have been better prepared to meet diverse people in the Army and throughout my life if my education had been a little bit more expansive. There should be more books and stories about unique and notable people available for our children. Having conversations about other identities and cultures and ways of living can only enhance a person's life.
Nathan, 30 seconds.
I've traveled from Utah to Kuwait, Iraq, South Korea, Nicaragua, and Taiwan. I've met and worked with heterosexual, gay, cisgender, and transgender people, Muslims, Hindus, Christians, and atheists. Many of our young Utah students may do what I've done and travel around the world and meet diverse and interesting people. Social emotional learning is a valuable part of our curriculum, and using accurate pronouns for each student is not only considerate, but it's a mature, inclusive way to interact with people. It's a habit our students will use throughout their lives. Thanks.
Thank you, Nathan. Next, we'll have Deborah Oaks-Coe with Jennifer Bowman on deck.
And I have a handout. I don't know. Okay. What I want to talk about actually goes with what he said. I'm an independent taxpayer as well, but I have been working on suicide prevention, specifically LGBTQ suicide prevention for the last 7 years as a volunteer, which has included reaching out to the LGBTQ BYU students. Has been one of my main focuses. What I wanted to address, I'm sure you've all seen the SHARP survey, and I think we need to be really conscious of what we're doing with these LGBTQ students in the school. I'm seeing lots of effort, so I don't want to be highly critical that way. I'm seeing lots of things being done and considered, and at the same time, I'm wondering, are we really looking at the specific needs of these exact students? We now have research showing that this is related to minority stress. It doesn't have anything to do with them being LGBTQ. It has to do with minority stress, and the difference between our LGBTQ youth and our heterosexual youth is dramatic. I've got lots of statistics. I'm going to give one really quick. In the 8th grade, our gay and lesbian students, nearly 35% of them said that they had attempted suicide in the last year. 5.5% of our heterosexual youth said that they had attempted suicide. So it's a very dramatic thing. I've given lots of studies in the handout, is the main thing that I've done. But we need to say, what are we going to do different to help these students? Because they really are suffering, and it shows that in the SHARP survey.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Jennifer Bowman with Phyllis Kimple on deck. Jennifer.
I'm hoping that's me. It's Jennifer Bowman.
Amy?
Yes.
Okay.
I know
I'll
it's a
try to
hard one to
that
get
in there. I apologize.
Good morning. I wanted to take this time to introduce myself. I am the new executive director for the Utah Education Association. I was a 6th grade teacher in Jordan School District for 24 years, and I was a director with the Jordan and Canyons Education Associations for 4.5 years. I've been in my current role for 5 months now. I appreciate the opportunity to provide comments this morning, and I want to thank the board for your commitment to educators and students with your recommended WPU increases this year. Also, I appreciate you taking the time to create a business case for educator-directed flexible time. When UEA leaders and staff meet with educators across the state, time is the most requested resource. The time needs to be directed by each educator to make the time most valuable to them individually. Some educators do not have paid time to finalize grades or prepare for parent-teacher conferences. Some educators have 200 students in a day and need to have time to provide feedback to those students in a timely manner. Some educators need time to fully implement new initiatives begun this year while also working through the second year of a pandemic. UEA is asking for an equivalent of 5 days or 40 hours of flexible educator time and it appears in your business case that you are requesting about 2 days or 16 hours. UEA asks that you increase the educator-directed flexible time in your legislative request. Thank you for your consideration. It's great to be with you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, we'll have Phyllis Kimple with Darlene Mcdonald on deck. Phyllis. It looks like you have a handout too, so we'll
I'll
we'll
hand
get
it
those
out
circulated.
at the
Thank
end
you.
of- Yes. I'm Phyllis Kimple, Vice President of the Worldwide Organization for Women. I will be reading a statement from Nicolene Peck, our president, who is teaching parenting in Ohio this week. Our state has very strict guidelines regarding what can and cannot be promoted to children. The databases and some library books are not in compliance with these guidelines. A comprehensive library policy needs to be created to vet books and digital resources prior to them being placed on the shelves or making them available to children digitally. If such vetting isn't possible, then those vendors should not be allowed to distribute to Utah's children. Our children are being groomed for risky sexual behavior by library resources. Last year, HB 38 that passed was designed to clean up the pornographic content in the school databases. As of right now, this has not happened. I have spoken with a board member from UETN, and he said that UETN doesn't have staff to take care of the database cleanup. Recent benign searches of the Gale database and the Utah Online Library for terms like tiger bring up videos about how to be a tiger in the sack, referring to sexual exploits, and the search term daddy brings up online Gale publications that promote pedophilia and even reference pedophilia websites. Some articles encourage female masturbation and even give how-to suggestions for increased stimulation, as well as lesbian erotica examples, and I could go on. Something needs to be done. This content is in violation of state obscenity laws and sex education laws and does not align with any Utah state educational standards. The schools are breaking the law because UETN has not required full educational resource compliance. Additionally, Follett, a common library book vendor, sends free software to school libraries to access the Follett Destiny Discover databases, which contain digital books, articles, videos, and music tracks. Destiny Discover, as well as the SOAR Digital Library, are full of pornographic content. Destiny Discover and SOAR are not associated with UETN, and so have no state oversight. This means that each school librarian chooses whether to make the free database software available or not. No known vetting occurs, and these resources are sent without a state request from vendors for free directly to schools. This is an insidious attack on the innocence of children. Thank you for your time and your efforts in protecting our children's safety.
Thank you, Phyllis.
And I do have handouts with examples.
Okay, we'll get those circulated. Thank you. Next, we'll have Darlene Mcdonald with CJ Wilkinson on deck.
Before I get started, the secretary asked me, I don't have a handout, but I have books.
Well,
And-
if you just want to send them there, we'll make sure we get them circulated on a
Okay.
break or sometime. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did check your gift guidelines, and they fall within that.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Darlene Mcdonald. I am the director of One Utah Project, zip code 84115. There were 3 requirements when it came time for me to plan one of the most important days of my life, my wedding. I wanted an autumn wedding outdoors with vibrant fall colors. So I consulted the Old Farmer's Almanac. The almanac gave me date range according to historical data. I chose wisely. We couldn't have asked for a more perfect day that was filled with shades of yellow, orange, red, purple, and brown. Whether the data is about something as trivial as the weather or a topic as uncomfortable as racism, there are people with proper education hired to research, study, and then provide data that we can make informed decisions. A rainy day can be an inconvenience, but few people are permanently harmed. When federal courts ruled segregated swimming pools were unconstitutional, Montgomery filled theirs with dirt. A once vibrant park is now mostly desolate space with few visitors who can point to where the old swimming pool had been. In 1971, the Supreme Court ruled that draining swimming pools was constitutional because no one could go swimming, so everyone was harmed equally. But that was not the case. Redlining segregated pools in suburbs, economic disparity led to private swim clubs that shut out working class. Local governments contracted with private organizations that excluded blacks from their pools. These policies removed outward signs of racism and embedded it in our institutions.
Darlene,
That is
30
why
seconds.
people deny the existence of racism today. School districts in Utah are being bullied by ill-informed and aggressive parent groups to ban books disproportionately written by LGBTQ and writers of color. They write about complex topics such as sexual abuse, sexual curiosity, and racism. These books may be fiction, but the topics are not. School districts are being bullied to cancel ethnic studies, courses as even incidents of gross racism and
Darlene,
harassment
Yeah.
in our
we need you to
schools
sum.
increase.
Thank you.
They are being bullied to eliminate social emotional learning, a program designed to equip all students with the tools to develop emotional in our civic society. The Supreme Court failed to grasp that the empty pools had nothing to do with swimming. Racism drained the pools. We must not allow racism to drain our schools. We must not allow ignorance of history doomed to repeat the sins of the past. In absence of data, people make up their own stories. In the presence of data, the stories are revealed.
Darlene, can I get you to
Yes,
sum that
it
up,
is.
please?
It is on us and how
Thank
we
you.
use that data to learn from the past, of the mistakes of the past, so that we can make informed decisions in the future. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get those circulated. Thank you. Next, we'll have CJ Wilkinson with Jennifer Orton on deck. CJ.
Hello. So I found it really difficult to zone in on one topic and be able to keep it 2 minutes long. It seems an injustice and disservice to any topic of current events to do that. It's come to my attention that self-reflection is what we need on a massive scale right now. In Utah, there is proven systemic racism towards Black, Indigenous, and Asian students in at least one school district, and the DOJ will be getting involved in as many districts as possible at this point. We have students going to school in blackface, dressed as the KKK and the Nazi, giving the HH salute, and no one stops them from doing so. We have parents of Caucasian and horrifically children of color as well, who are more upset that schools dare to teach their kids about racism and how to act like good people than they get about racism itself, which they never speak out about when it happens. We have students insisting that Black students give them N-word passes so they can say the N-word around Black students or not, and if Black students refuse or push back on that, they are physically assaulted. We have students killing themselves in grotesque numbers, students being racially profiled, students being abused by parents, peers, and school staff, and students of all ethnicities, genders, sexual orientations, and socioeconomic statuses.
30 seconds,
Being-
Jennifer.
CJ.
You're good.
Being sexually assaulted, and that includes children of the so-called conservative Christian parents. We have parents more upset regarding questions to students about how they are feeling than they are about students being killed by school shooters or students committing suicide. And lastly, we have school and state administrations who either A, agree with this racist, bigoted approach to life, or B, are too afraid to stand up to tyrannical parents and tell them no. I suggest that everyone do some self-reflection to figure out what side of history you are actually on. Tell oppression no loudly, without doubt, and back that up with actions, and tyranny will fall.
Thank you, CJ. Okay, next is Jennifer Orton with Mike Brown on deck. Is Jennifer with us? Not seeing Jennifer. Mike Brown. After Mike, we'll have Kelly. I think it's Strebel or Strebel. Mike.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mike Brown. I am the dad of 5 boys in the Davis School District, and I'm here to speak on the recent letter from the National School Board Association. On September 29th, they sent a letter to President Biden that requested federal intervention in local school board issues, which likened civic participation to domestic terrorism and hate crimes. So 27 states have responded to this, distancing themselves from this letter, and 15 states have taken further action. But unfortunately, Utah is not one of them. Utah, which prides itself on families and parental involvement, has been silent. So does that mean that us parents who have concern for our kids are considered domestic terrorists? The silence is deafening from the Utah State School Board and the Utah State School Board Association. It's been over 2 months, and there is no, denouncement of this likening to domestic terrorism of parents. So I'm wondering when the state will speak up and defend its parents. And as Dietrich Bonhoeffer once said, not to speak is to speak, not to act is to act. And also Martin Luther King, the silence of the good people is more dangerous than the brutality of the bad people. So the silence is deafening. I call on the State School Board Association and the State School Board to denounce this letter that likened us parents who are actually taking action in their kids' lives as domestic terrorists. It's outright wrong and outrageous. And I call on you to take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we have Kelly. Then I'll check to see if Jennifer's joined us or not.
The last name is Strebel.
Strebel.
Okay. The current vision and mission statement that you currently operate is in violation of Utah Code 53E2301. I have here your legislative report card. You all failed because of violations of the law and the Constitution. You have in front of you figure 2.2. It shows Utah Code as currently written under 53E2301 and the adapted code put forth by Superintendent Sidney Dixon back in January 2019 under the strategic plan. Recently, this very board chose to reprimand Member Klein for forgetting to say not official USB board position in one of her posts. The vision and mission statement this board is acting upon is in violation of the law and was introduced by Superintendent Sidney Dixon and supported by Mark Huntsman as chair. This violation is far greater than that of Member Klein. 53E2301 is the mandate in Utah law that this board is to operate under. The Utah State Board of Education does not lead when it sets itself above the law. There is no mention of learning and occupational skills, character development, literacy, numeracy, high quality instructions, curriculum based on high standards and relevant and or effective assessment to inform high quality instruction and accountability, nor does it mention anything regarding strong moral and social values and loyalty and commitment to constitutional government. The revised mission and mission statement and values requires attention by this board, mandating that the USBE's mission and vision statement and values be brought into compliance with the Utah statutes to ensure our schools are teaching our children in accordance with Utah Statute 53E2301. This board must stop operating outside of the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Is Jennifer Orton here? I think I'm not seeing her. Okay, we're going to move to our Zoom. First on our Zoom is Haley Anderson with Amanda. Darrell, you're on deck. Haley.
Hi, my name is Haley, and I'm a parent of 3 children in the Salt Lake City School District. I want to thank the Salt Lake District for its continuing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. After the Department of Justice report of the Davis School District found that widespread racial harassment and inaction from students and staff, and the death of a 10-year-old Black child with autism in the same district, it is clear that racism and bullying awareness is needed in Utah. I have a child with a disability and many friends with Black children. And people who think that racism and ableism are not happening in Utah's public schools are not paying attention. These attacks on equity and inclusion, such as trying to ban diverse books, limit discussions of history, and ignore prejudiced behavior, directly affect our marginalized children. I would like to see all districts implement the same training that the Davis district is now requiring. This includes training staff, students, and parents to identify, investigate, and respond to complaints of racial harassment and discrimination, as well as create an Office of Equal Opportunity to receive and investigate claims of discrimination. This could literally save another child's life. Another possible life-saving step is using students' pronouns and preferred names. A lot of LGBTQ students are out at school, but still closeted at home. Sometimes school is the only safe place for these students. Requiring parental permission to use different pronouns and possibly outing these students to families who won't support them would put these children in danger of punishment, humiliation, and homelessness.
Haley, 30 seconds. Please continue.
LGBTQ youth are 4 times more likely to consider and attempt suicide. I understand the concern over parental rights, but student safety precedes parental rights, and safety should be the absolute minimum for these kids. School should be affirming, informative, inclusive, and supportive of all students. The repeal of SB 196 in 2017 makes it legal to discuss LGBT issues in school. USB makes it clear every student in Utah is entitled to an education free from discrimination. Not respecting a student's gender identity.
Haley, can you sum up? Your time is up, please.
Okay. I encourage you to keep these things in mind when determining how to implement educational equities in school. Thank you for letting me address the board today.
And thank you for your young child that participated.
I know.
Music to my ears. I find it not offensive at all. Thank you.
That's my 5-year-old in the background. I hope you could still understand me with her having her issues.
Okay, thank you. Amanda Darrell with Taylor Bruce on deck. Amanda.
Thank you for giving me space for public comment today. My name is Amanda Darrow and I use she, her pronouns. I am the Director of Youth, Family, and Education Advocacy at the Utah Pride Center. For the past few months, I have watched the Standards and Assessment Committee and USBE staff work on the gender identity guidance for Utah public education. I have shared with the committee that I fully support a gender identity guidance to help educators navigate the needs of the transgender, non-binary, and gender-expansive student population. What has concerned me about the guidance is that there have been multiple comments by the committee that refer to gender identity as sexual orientation. I would like to quickly elaborate on the difference. Your gender identity is who you know yourself to be. Someone who identifies as cisgender has an alignment between their sex assigned at birth and their gender identity. A transgender individual is someone whose gender identity does not correspond with the sex they were assigned at birth. Sexual orientation is your attraction for others based off of your gender. Understanding the difference between these and other identities while creating the guidance will be crucial. As educators, we can all agree that there will always be a need to learn more, especially when it comes to professional learning and educational equity. I would like to formally invite the USBE board members and staff to complimentary tickets to the Utah Pride Center's Pride Not Prejudice LGBTQIA+ conference on January 22nd, 2022. This conference aims to empower students to be their authentic selves at school, enables educators to actively support their LGBTQIA+ students, and creates a positive culture to collaborate, resulting in a sustainable change for LGBTQIA+ identities in schools.
30 seconds, Amanda. Sorry.
I look forward to seeing you at the conference and watching the final development of the gender identity guidance for Utah public education. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Next, we'll have Taylor Bruce with John Arthur on deck.
Callie Bruce. I am a city councilwoman out in Cottonwood Heights, but I'm here today as a
We're,
citizen.
we're having a volume issue here. I'm not sure if it's on your end or ours.
Is
Haley,
it better now? Hear me?
we're still not hearing you. And it's not on our end. Can we move to John Arthur and then come back to you, Taylor?
Yes.
Let's try that and see if you can check some of your settings. Okay, John Arthur.
Yes, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you.
All right. All right. Thank you, Chair. Board members, I am John Arthur, 2021 Utah Teacher of the Year and proud representative for the Asian community on the Access Committee. Public comments about the Access Committee have made it clear that our secret is out. They're on to us. I don't know how folks figured out that we, the Access Committee, hold all the power, but since there's no point in pretending, here's a list of things I'd like you to work on today. 1, more books, not less. Every kid should walk in their classroom or school library and find a beautiful book waiting for them on the shelves that's all about them. LGBTQ, immigrants, refugees, students with disabilities. Our children need books to let them know they are valued and belong in Utah schools. Number 2, dramatically increase the font size on slide 15 of today's R277328 slide deck. Having the font so small on the one slide that seeks to protect teachers and administrators from bullying and harassment sends the wrong message that the least important thing in the entire presentation is taking care of our incredible teachers. Similarly, number 3, approve the new CTE standards for teaching as a profession 3. Singling out teaching as a profession for further consideration while easily passing the standards for the other courses tells our high school students that ours, teaching, is a profession under attack. There's a lack of faith there, and you might not want to get into this business.
John, 30
Now,
seconds.
if you want to maintain, thank you, sir. If you want to maintain the charade that Access has no power, then I'll continue to hide in the shadows. To the world, I'll even say, we aren't hiding in the shadows. The problem is the only light is there at the table, and as you can see, there aren't any seats for us. Thankfully, what we do have is a state board that actively seeks our advice, and for that, I am profoundly grateful to you. Thank you so much for your time, and now I'll get back to pretending my life's work is uplifting 11 and 12-year-olds. Thanks again.
Thank you, John. We'll go back to Taylor Bruce. Should we try this again?
Hi.
Taylor?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Still no?
We are. Hey, well, give it your best. Give it your best shot. We'll give you the 2 minutes here, and we'll try, and some of it will show up on our screen.
Okay.
On our captions. Thanks.
If I speak more loudly, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we barely have you, so please continue.
Oh, shoot. Okay, sorry. I'm Callie Bruce. I'm a city councilwoman in Cottonwood Heights, but I'm here today as a citizen. And I too want to talk about teachers. The efforts to bully them is making a really tough situation harder. Administrators need to stand up in support of teachers. They need to speak up. We need to not allow anti-equity folks to target them. I'd like to give a big shout out to our teachers that are committed to giving their students the education and opportunities they need for an equal and successful future. Evidence says that when we support our marginalized students, the general student body benefits as well. Evidence says that when we support our marginalized students, the general student body benefits as well. It prepares them for life. We need to support and offer support in our actions for our teachers. Stop the bullying. There's some awesome teachers out there going the extra mile, and they need to know that we have their back. Teachers and principals that I know are doing amazing work with equity, and they wouldn't want to be singled out right now because they are in fear of harassment from hostile parents. It's a tragedy that they are having to work in such a hostile teaching environment. I know a teacher that spoke out for support of equity and was harassed by several individuals, including 2 extremist groups, via her own personal professional school email. Educators have received repeated sarcastic comments about being heroes. And now you're a hero has become a joke and an insult because of the rhetoric and toxic environment that they're working in. School
Kaylee, 30
administrators
seconds,
are
please.
hanging by a thread. We need to take solid, concrete action and show them that we have their back. We need to stop the bullying and harassment in tangible ways. Teachers are doing extraordinary work, and they need to know that they are heroes, and there's no joke about it. Thank you for my time.
Thank you, Haley. We'll do one more shout out or call out for Jennifer Orton. Is Jennifer here? I'm not seeing. This concludes our public comment period. And just for the public, we do accept written comments that can exceed 2 minutes in length, and we value those, and there's a way to submit those through our webpage. Thank you for your participation today.